You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Best Comics of the Week show. It is the comics from, I believe, May 15th, 2024. Unless you're DC, then it's the 14th, but that'll be changing soon. But I'm here with my man, Gray. What up, Gray?
What up, Jim? How you doing? Are you Genki?
Yeah, I'm Genki, all right. We had a discussion before we started about all of our woes.
We did.
And then we're here and like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be talking about the best comics of the week and talking about people with comments and stuff like that and getting all upset about books. So you have to put that behind here because these are the best comics of the week. And even if you end up not agreeing with these, or lo and behold, we don't read everything. If you have a book or books that you think are the best of the week, please put them in the comments, because with all of this nonsense, and again, I was talking to Gray, I've even commented to some people on the channel, people seem to think you come in and just like it's all fun and games when things are bad. Like, oh yeah, it stinks. It's very depressing. And then when you end up having to defend stuff and all, that's not kind of what I like to do. I like to have fun with the comics. So that's what we'll try here. But please put what your books of the week are. And that could end up, we can push those crappos aside and have all great books. Though, as we say that, we still don't have a ton of the big two on this week's show. Thanks to Gray, we actually have a DC book. And I know that a lot of people might be saying, oh, well, Action Comics, Green Lantern, they almost made our list. They just didn't quite get to that point that we ended up wanting them to. But one book did. What is that, Gray?
This might be a surprise for people, Jim. I don't think many people are reading it, but the people who are loving it. It's Batman Dylan Dog, issue 3, the concluding part. Listen to this. It's 66 pages for $4.99. First of all, that is great value for money. Just let me give you the credits. It's written, wish me luck with these names. It's writer Roberto Recchioni. There's two artists. We've got Gigi Cavanego and Vertha Del Edera. And the colorist is Giovanna Nero. Now, I know people might throw shade at me for the butchering the names there, but I saw a really good comment, Jim, and it says, like, one of the best Batman books in the last few years has come out from people who've got nothing to do with DC, and that's very interesting. And
it is an Italian comic, obviously. You can tell from the names. It's good that you ended up doing them. I can't help it. I would have had this crazy old man Italian accent, like I was at a pizzeria or something. Mia. And I would have offended people. Oh, Mamma Mia! But yeah, here's the thing: when this was first announced, I ended up talking to our man Simon about it, and he kind of looked into some of the things. It's hard to actually get any real Dylan Dog stuff. I mean, it was an Italian comic, and that's where I thought there might have been, kind of a better thing might have been to release. I don't know. Maybe they have, but they should have released maybe an omnibus or something of those, because it seemed like people were excited at first to kind of get into it, and then it kind of like disappeared. I know it's coming out and people are reading. You said love it, but I don't hear a lot of talk about it. And
no, there isn't, sadly.
Remember last week, one of the big books we had was the Boy Wonder, and that was less pages, prestige, but very expensive. And so when you get this, like this should be something that maybe people can get involved. It's just I don't know that many people know Dylan Dog. So,
no,
but again,
I had no idea who he was, Jim. Apparently, he investigates nightmares. There we go.
I thought it was just a dog. See that? I don't even know. I might check it out. I might check it out on the app at some point because, like you said, a lot of people were saying that it was pretty good. Any sort of comments about it?
Yeah, just briefly, it's got some of my favourite characters in it, so maybe I'm a bit biased, but John Constantine's in there, Jason Blood, the Demon's in there, so great to see them. So there's a bit of course, there's a supernatural angle to it, and it has an actual, fresh, scary new villain. So there you go. That's what I liked about it, yeah.
That's one of the things, like, people have even commented when you ended up the book that we're going to talk about on the Marvel side of things, but the idea of some of these villains lately, they're just not hitting. Villain is I always say, a villain is a friend you haven't met yet anymore. It's like the idea that you can't punch a guy in the face and things like that, where you can't really get a threat going with that. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
But
and the art as well. The art is awesome. Seriously, it's worth a look. I got a little bit of Dan Morrow vibes, but you can tell it's European style, definitely.
Yeah, so I'll check it out. One of the things about the European books that ends up throwing me off is they're usually oversized. Like I
Yeah.
end up like I'm going to check this. Like I end up liking Pirates, right? You see 78 pages. Like what am I? What am I?
Who's
Some
got
sort
time
of
for that,
cultured
Jim?
fellow here? I'm no Einstein. What are you talking about? I need 21 pages. But we'll move off to Marvel, and Marvel had a bunch of books, not as many as what has been coming out. But weird, not a lot of tie-ins to Blood Hunt this week. We really blew our load last week for these things. This week we ended up having, say, a Spider-Man Blood Hunt. That is not on the list here. I have one book. You didn't add anything else with the Marvel. There is a new Venom book. Things. I think there'll be people who like some of these other niche books. But our pick is Doom. Doom #1, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Sanford Green. The way they show the credits, it seems as if they might have both been involved. Well, at least Sanford Green involved maybe the Marvel method or, some of the script deal. And when we ended up reviewing it on the show, that we have the video here on the channel, me and Matt did kind of speculate. Like it did seem like this was something that maybe Sanford Green had already going and just needed like Hickman to jump on, do some of the dialogue, fill in some of that stuff. Because
Okay.
it felt like, in the way they spelled it out, it really felt that way. And it is a $6.99 book. It's slightly oversized kind of deal, but the art's great. I actually was shocked. I thought that the art was really, really good. And then I was talking to some people, and some people like not even saying, like, not being like, mean or whatever, just in commenting saying, well, I know that a lot of people don't like his art. And I was like, really? Because I think it looks really good. It has like I said, it almost looks like the Daniel Warren Johnson kind of deal. It has
Yeah,
that.
I can see
but
that.
again, Sanford Green is, pre him. I'm not saying that, that sort of thing. But yeah, I said after reading it, I would love for him to be on the Transformers books. I think it would work out really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. The thing, though, is that's confusing about this. It is a one-shot. And
yeah, I didn't realize that either,
yeah.
Jim. I thought it was maybe a miniseries or something.
I did too. I thought it was like a 3-issue, like prestige mini. And so when I'm reading it, I'm like, this is pretty cool. People have told me 100 times. I kept forgetting. So I'm reading. I'm like, man, I hope we find out this, because we think when we were talking about that, like Val might be an AI. Things like, oh man, that'd be cool. Like, what about the? We're not going to find anything. It ends. Like, that's the one thing that threw me off by the end, is that maybe it should have been called Doom: The End. Even then, it's kind of more about Galactus for the big part. And I thought it was really cool. It just threw me at the end when I'm like, oh, we're not going to really finish this. We're not going to see things. I think maybe the #1 threw me in the title as well. I know it is a #1 still, but still, you're not going to probably get a #2. But I thought it was really cool. I had some fun with it. It was cool just to look at. And I'm not a huge art guy. I'm more of a story guy. Some of the story was a little bit wacky, but it progressed and it went. And this whole thing was just having Galactus just be so overpowered, ended up destroying everything. And then Doom's going to kind of give it one last shot in a super enhanced way, but it doesn't look like that's going to matter. So by the end, you kind of end, and I kind of shrugged my shoulders that I wish it would have continued, but I still really liked it.
The ending was abrupt. It was abrupt. It did feel like, hey, is that it? But I got to say, I'm with you, Jim. I love the art. I don't understand the criticism. I think it's awesome. It suits the cosmic story. It suits that style, doesn't it?
Yeah. And again, like the two people specifically said to me, not that they didn't like it, but said, oh man, so many people don't like this art. I'm like, what?
Weird.
It actually shocked me.
And the coloring's beautiful too. It really
it's
suits
really
that.
good. And where these are, and when we end up doing our podcast and some of the videos, we go through review copies, and they aren't high res. So when we're doing it, still look great, low res. Like sometimes you can tell, like, oh, I hope this gets better when we get the regular deal. This already looked good, and it looks great when we get down to it. So I do suggest, if you more for the art than the story, because the story just kind of ends. I'll even tell you, if you haven't watched the video, I gave it an 8. And that's where we kind of draw the line. If the story would have been something, or continued, or been more, resolution, I probably would have been up to a 9. Even I thought it was really good, but it was mostly the art. But we're going to move on, because we're supposed to be streamlining this. I don't know what's happening, Gray.
We're excited talking about comics, because we do love
we're
comics.
Excited. Oh my God, do we? I know, I can't even tell anymore. We're going to move to the indie. And I have this book. I don't know why I put this. Usually I've been putting the books that I really like last, but we put it here, and that's the deal. It's Redcoat, #2. It is written by Jeff Johns, art by Andrew. Why does it say Andrew Curie? Well, it was Brian Hitch, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, Brian Hitch, and his great work by him. It's people saying some of his best work, Jim.
Yeah, I actually thought this issue looked really good. And I think that people who were, not into it, the first issue felt to me almost like didn't feel like it had a lot of meat on the bone. Like you're just introducing Simon. So you didn't have a lot. You're introducing a crazy concept of the immortal deal. And then at the end, you finally get Einstein. Hey, there you go. And when you jump into here, you do end up being able to see the character. And I had a lot of people also tell me that they didn't like the first issue that much, that they really like this because you get to see. I like Simon. I like the idea that he is a immortal. He could take advantage of it. He doesn't because he's like me, lazy. He's like the Ferris Bueller of the Immortals. But then when you end up seeing then I'm not going to spoil it. You end up seeing the other immortal. He mentioned before there's another one, and you jump to see this character, and it's pretty cool. And he's playing the game, I guess, quote unquote, right, where he's gathering money and power and things like that.
The looks of things, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's also like getting a lot of he's a lady killer that he's betting down some ladies for money too, because he'll outlive everyone. He's immortal, so it seems like that might be the case as well.
Jim, Simon doesn't stand a chance with the ladies with that dirty red coat. He just doesn't want to take it off.
I'm telling you, it doesn't take it off. It gets ripped up, and he's like, I'm pretty good at sewing.
But I kind of like that about it, though. I like
it's kind of cool. I actually he ends up in this issue in like this fancy dinner party ball, and I thought maybe somebody would say something about that coat more than they did, because even the other character should have reacted in a way of like, well, why are you wearing that? Like,
Excuse
that thing
me,
stinks.
sir.
Yes. And so here's what I want to ask you, though, because I did talk about it on our review. The idea of this being a lot of right now kind of more American history. You knew these characters enough, like the ones that were revealed that we're not spoiling?
No, that was a good point you made on your review. Yeah, I didn't know. I can't even remember the name. The main one, the first one, the reference.
Yeah. And that's
I have no idea who it was. I know some of them, but
anybody in the U.S. will know this character immediately and already have a preconceived notion of what they are, because this guy was, I don't want to spoil it too much, but this guy is known to be like one of the worst traders ever. I'm telling you, just me saying that just spoiled it to like 90% of the people because of what you end up having.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that a lot of people around the world will not know. And I specifically, people in the US, if you think that people in England learned about the war that they lost, the Revolutionary, they didn't learn. My mom told me they didn't mention it.
They didn't teach anything about that during my school history.
You guys lost, so you're not going to show that. So that shows the deal. And I think that might, hinder some of the people, but I don't know. It's still kind of cool. And it's still good. There's a scene that's such a little scene where you have a young Albert Einstein with Simon, and they have to run. And Albert Einstein turns around and says, "We better run." Simon's already over this fence.
I love that. That was my favorite scene in the book.
It was the best scene. And just that one scene makes me want to see this adapted to some sort of live action. I will just watch it for that scene because it's so cinematic to pull the camera back.
It could make an awesome series.
He's just jumping over the fence. Yeah, all these could.
Could you get past Albert's accent, Jim? I've got to ask you about that.
it was tough. Again, my review, my score went down. And I said to Matt, because what can you do? That's his Albert Einstein, older, down the line, he'll still have that accent.
Yeah.
So you can't have it not.
Makes it harder to read a bit.
You almost wish that, because this involves magic and stuff like that, you almost wish that he had some sort of all those a babble fish type thing, something that you would end up where you have him eat something and he can actually talk for 2 years normal. Threw me off. It was.
Do they make it part of the story? I can't remember. Jim is like, do you get Simon saying, "I don't know what you're talking about, man"?
I think
what
he
are you
did
saying?
At one point, yeah. At one point, he was talking about his dad, and I did not get what he was saying because it's broken, German.
Yeah, broken English with a German accent.
Yeah, and it was just it got tough at points, and then he kind of lost it, and then it came back. But it's consistent. It should be.
It's fun though. It's definitely a fun series so far. It surprised me.
And I think you mentioned the first issue. I'm down with what you said specifically. it's not magic based, the real reason, but does remind me of John Constantine. He reminds me of that kind of roguish kind of, hey, I don't really care, but he does care, like that kind of thing. So I thought it was really good. But we're going to keep moving, and we're going to go to two books that you have here. And one is one that people kept asking if we were going to review. I'm assuming that it was like 2,000 pages because it's a big anniversary.
It's close.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I thought it was going to be big. Also, I don't know much about Godzilla. I just revealed what it is, but I'm not a huge Godzilla guy. I know you love Godzilla, so you love him so much you want to marry him. Your wife won't let you, though.
It's weird. I'm like you, Jim. It's only recent, really. It's like, cancel Greg because he doesn't know Godzilla perfectly. But because of Godzilla -1, that just blew my mind.
I just thought it was because once you end up living in Japan, you're forced to like Godzilla. That's what I thought. I just thought that was the case. But you tell us about this one.
It's Godzilla, the 70th anniversary, issue 1, it says, from IDW. So 25 years of IDW as well, Jim. It's a one-shot. It's 96 pages. That surprised me. And it is $9.99, so you do have to pay quite a bit for it. But it's like a graphic novel, basically, isn't it, at that length?
Yeah, that's a pretty good length. Usually those DC, like, oversized things that are like the anniversary are the same deal. So they're not gouging.
I've got some of those, by the way, yeah, like, the Robin special or the Joke special. But yeah, back to this. It's 9 stories. And for me, with anthologies, it's kind of hit or miss. But 7 out of the 9 I thought were really good. You get a great selection of writers and artists, people that you'll know, people like Joelle Jones, from Catwoman, James Stokoe, Dan Didio's on it. There's a Michael Conrad story, Matt Frank's in here. But yeah, mostly really good. And for
so
Godzilla
what you're saying
fan,
is
essential.
Michael Conrad had one of the 2 that weren't good. I'm assuming that's just me.
It's a hot take from Jim.
That's what I'm assuming. But yeah, I maybe I'll say. Here's the thing: when I say that I don't like God, I don't hate Godzilla. I just don't know much about Godzilla.
Sure,
it's kind of like, again, where people seem to be shocked when you don't know a lot of stuff about things. But like Transformers, I talk about it every time, and G.I. Joe, never really my thing, but I am enjoying them. I always wanted to get into them. Same with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We do a podcast on that on our Patreon. The idea of getting into that stuff later is kind of cool. Godzilla is like Eric's favorite thing of all time. You mentioned
I didn't know that.
Oh
really?
My God. If you ever talk to him, just say that you like Gadzuki, and he'll lose his mind. That's basically all I know what to say is that, or I like Zilla, and he'll lose his mind with that as well. So, he loves Godzilla so much.
I think people who are into it are really into it, aren't they, Jim? Like you were saying, I don't know much about it, beyond the couple of movies, but yeah, people who are into it, they'll love this. They'll lap it up.
That's cool. And a lot of times, you said 7 was it 9? 7
Yeah,
of
7
9.
out of 9 I thought were decent.
Wasn't that
really
a Star
good.
Trek character? You end up where in that, usually with the anthology stuff, I'm telling you, you're lucky to get 2 out of 7 that are good. And you have to kind of weigh back and forth. But 7 and 9, to me, that's a buy, especially if you're in. So I can see why it's on the list.
Some are funny, some are moving, some are a bit scary. Yeah, so it's a nice mix. It's a mix of like styles and genres in it.
Yeah, that's cool. I might check it out. I got the review copy, and I didn't even like Godzilla. I think I was going to look, and I saw Anniversary. I knew it was going to be one of those like 100-page deals. I'm like, yeah, that'll be Gray's deal. What is next?
Next we have, in a Spawn universe, Rat City issue 2, written by... Oh my God, just pulling up, sorry. Erica Schultz, Jim. I wanted to ask you about her. I don't know. I know the name, but I don't know what she's done before.
She's doing the Elektra stuff now, and she did I believe she did Hallows Eve and also
that was it.
Spider-Man.
Sorry, yeah.
And
you said
I
that,
actually
didn't you?
like her. I talk about it. I think that she's better than a lot of the writers that people hate on a lot.
I agree.
She's not the best, but I think she's good enough. And I'm telling you, at this moment, people would put. People laugh when I say this, but Kelly Thompson was, the deal. I think Kelly Thompson has kind of fallen a bit, and I like Erica Schultz a lot better than her on her things. At least I have fun when I'm reading some of her things. And she's kind of that sort of fills that space. But I read the first Rat City after you said it was good, and a lot of other people said it was good, and I really liked it. I thought it was cool.
It was my pick of the week, wasn't it? Then the first one.
So I read it, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, even without any Spawn knowledge. And because it's a different deal, I was going to read. I'll probably still read this number 2. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But tell us about it.
What I like about it, Jim, and not going into too much detail, but I get like 2000 AD vibes and a really good 2000 AD, like the old style stories, almost Judge Dredd at times. It's futuristic. It's a bit like cyberpunky at times. And you get a great reveal at the end. I won't spoil it, but it's to do with like a Spawn costume, a new Spawn costume, and it just looks awesome.
Really? Yeah. And if people don't know, it's again, like you said, it's like a Judge Dredd. It's kind of like a Spawn 2099 or like a Spawn Beyond.
Batman Beyond.
Like, Batman Beyond. So it has that. And it shocked me when it was announced. And again, there was another one of these kind of mini type things that came out. And every time these things come out, like I'm shocked that they just call it Rat City and not like Spawn Beyond or something for people who don't know to kind of jump in.
It's a tiny thing, Jim, on the cover, and it's a circle with a new U. It doesn't even say Spawn, just like new U and a little skull in it. That's all it's got.
Yeah, they should push it a little more.
No idea.
Because I think that people may not know that it is that. Again, I'm not saying big fans. They probably know.
Great art, by the way. I forgot to say. Is it Z or Zay? Zay Carlos. Really good art.
And again, you're starting a new thing. What I was going to say originally, what shocked me when this came out, and I'm like, oh, and I think you even said it's like the future deal. You got that, and I'm like, they didn't do that before. Like, it seems like that would have been something they would have done all this time. But that's kind of a cool concept. So
you don't need much background knowledge for Spawn to enjoy it. That's what I think is good about it. It's new reader friendly, and it's only $2.99.
And it's weird. Maybe that's why they're like, well, we don't want to push Spawn because people will think that you need to know too much Spawn. But the idea of it what they should have is like, in the Spawn universe, new user friendly. Get crazy with it, because I think that one of the reasons why I liked it, that first issue, was because I had no problems jumping in. I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm going to probably read that tomorrow. Or the next day, We'll see. I'll try to get it because I want to, if number 3 is good, to put it on.
Time, Jim, time. We need more time, don't we?
Yeah, really, to make more poop songs. But you need the next deal, and this is probably my favorite book of the week, even more than, say, Redcoat, in the fun factor especially. It's Uncanny Valley, number 2, written by Tony Fleeks and Dave Wachter on art, and it pretty much is a universe that has, we've seen this before. I said it in the review, and I just put the review up today as we're recording this on our channel. It's that whole tropey deal of cartoons are real, but they're hidden. It has like that Harry Potter feel with that. You end up having a big thing coming down. There's an evil, whatever, guy, gal, whatever. And in the meantime, you find out that this guy, Oliver, he is the kind of chosen one. He's a half toon, half human, and his grandfather, Pecos Pete. I always want to say Bill, and now I said Pill. Pecos Pete. I don't know why I keep saying he's coming, like grabbed Oliver right at the right moment he was about to be taken. And in this, you get just a fun thing of this issue almost being, okay, we're going to show you the rules of the cartoons, which aren't anything that will be anything of, crazy to people who are a fan of Looney Tunes, like things that, you can walk on air if you don't look below and see that you're, 8 million feet up, as long as you don't know.
Don't look down, you won't fall.
That sort of thing. And even by the end, you even have where, Pecos.
Yosemite Sam, come on, James.
I don't know why it is Yosemite Sam. Where, that's that's nonsense. He ends up with a painting deal, and he paints like the tunnel on the side of a cliff, and they're able to go into it. So you have all those cartoon physics stuff going on, but it also has that little bit where in this, Oliver's dad has disappeared. Somebody mentioned today on our review in the comments, like, please don't tell me his dad is the bad, big giant villain. I'm like, you know what? You said that. It probably is.
Maybe.
His dad disappeared. So there's that. And he's like, oh, my grandfather, like, why weren't you around? So there's that family thing too. And in the meantime, his mom is trying to find Oliver. There's all that stuff going on, but it's just fun. I actually laughed out. I don't laugh a lot. I'm a pretty miserable guy. So I ended to ask my wife. She'll tell you in spades. But I ended up where I was reading it and laughing a bunch because it's just a fun thing. And it's one of those, as I was reading it, just reminds me of, like, when I did think that Looney Tunes and stuff, I still do think they're great, but the idea of just having fun, sitting there watching cartoons and stuff like that, that was the kind of the deal. And I thought it was great. I thought it was really
I really enjoyed it too. You got me to read it, like the first issue, and so I read this one, the second one. And as you say, Jim, it is so much fun. It's got a lot of the cartoon, Looney Tune like tropes, but it works really well. And you enjoy seeing them, don't you? Even though you know they're coming. Yeah.
The thing is, you go and you're in this Looney Tune, and the idea, again, it's Yosemite Sam, but you have to go by the deal. And so when you go and you see you're heading to the Old West and you see this winding road, you know that we're probably going to see either or and the Roadrunner and the Wile E. Coyote. We end up seeing the coyotes. I actually thought that the Roadrunner was going to come in and kind of get them, but it's weird. The coyotes, which are dingoes, ate your baby, they end up where it almost feels like they're a combo of them, because even when they go to run, they run really fast. And so it is kind of a cool concept. But then when you go off to this big bad, it gets to be like a Disney, and I'm talking like Sleeping Beauty Disney type deal, like the whole cells, and it looks
great
really
art
good.
Styles in there by Dave
really,
Washington.
really cool.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say by the end is I think I got a kick out of the idea, because it's something you hear all the time with ghosts. The idea, as long like 3-year-olds and under, they can see ghosts. Like, it's always the kids and the baby, they can't talk, so they can't say
cats, Jim, and dogs
exactly.
too.
Again, because they can't talk. This is what they do with these nonsense theories. It's like, well, since they can't talk and refute this, we'll say they can see. And babies will start pointing at stuff and giggle and stuff like that, and it's always weird. We actually, as an aside, our son Zach, my second oldest, at one point, he would stand at the bottom of our stairs. And we'd go, what are you doing? He's like, I want to play with the boy. And he'd point upstairs. And we didn't know what happened. Later, we found out that a kid, like years and years and years ago, did fall down those stairs and broke his neck.
I just got goosebumps, Jim. My spine went weird.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it threw me when we found out. And he just kept saying it. But they play the idea that only little kids can see people as cartoons.
Yeah.
And then later, and there was a funny line, because then Oliver goes, because what you have, his grandfather, Yosemite Sam, will just say, I'm telling you, I don't know why I have so much problem with that name.
Peyote Pete.
Pecos Pete. It's Pecos Pete, and I say Pecos Bill. I'm running scared. But they end up where he's like, that, you see the tunes, you don't see them, you see them, they look funny. And then Oliver says something like, oh, you mean like if you see some guy acting crazy, like in that? Oh, no, they're just crazy. They're just other people. There was some fun things.
It's a funny issue, and it's good to laugh at a comic, enjoy it and just have fun.
I liked it, but that is it for the best of the week. We got a little off the rails there. I needed a little pick-me-up. We were having some problems. So,
me too, Jim.
It's just, there's always comics to be had. Sometimes the list is bigger, and I believe that a lot of people have some other books on there. So give us your picks. And then if it's something that people aren't aware of or they didn't know came out, that gives them the chance. But, until we do like 3 weeks in a row that we don't have any books on here, I could say that there's some good books out there for people to grab, a couple one-shots, things like that, to go and just jump on instead of bitching.
Yes.
Instead of bitching, start
Look
to
at
read.
you with your positivity.
I wish that
love it.
would rhyme. I need a rhyme. Like stop bitching and start itching. I don't know. I don't have any rhyme. Stop bleeding and start reading. There you go. Bleeding, it's because I'll punch you right in the nose. Is what I'll do. But that is it. So please let us know what you thought this week, what you're looking forward to or have read. And then I apologize if you are somebody who comes to the show and the channel. I did not have a most anticipated books last week because I was pretty down. It's the same thing. I ended up going to do it. And Gray has told me too. Again, it's kind of the real deal of like, I don't feel like doing a review or a thing. You just got to get the inspiration back. But doing shows like this is what gets me fired up. So
talking about it with you, Jim, that always gets me fired up and Genki again.
Go and check Gray's channel out. Especially, he did mention, if you haven't seen his -1, the Godzilla -1 reviews, go and check those out, especially because those are really good. I haven't watched any Godzilla. I watched your reviews and then I watched the other one when they came out with the other edition. So I'm like, okay. That's enough -1 for me. Yeah, I was like, I do that. So yeah, check that out. And that's it. So we will see you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.